from Louisiana. Pronouncing him, is it Izondo or Izondo? I don't know how to pronounce it. My apologies. How do I say that?
Izondo.
Izondo. Thanks. Welcome to the show. You're on with Forrest and Matt.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. I have a few points, I think, that we'll have a good discussion.
I just saw what's written on the call screen, and I don't believe you already that you have a few good points. But go on, let's talk.
Yeah, absolutely. We probably won't agree. We'll probably have to agree to disagree,
Probably
but I'll
not.
make the points regardless. We'll see.
Well, the question here, Izondo, hang on just a second.
Yeah.
It's not so much about whether we agree. It's you have views on slavery, morality, and a woman's place in the world. I'm interested in what those views are. I'm interested in why you hold those views, and I'm interested in why you think we should hold those views. So pick one of those views, tell us what it is, why you believe it, and why you think we should believe it.
Okay. So, firstly, it's not necessarily that I feel like you should hold these views, but I'm defending the point that Christianity biblically holds these views. So I'm not saying that you should hold the views.
Stop.
Sorry.
I don't give a fuck. Izondo, I don't give a fuck what your opinion is about what Christians should believe. That has zero relevance to me or Forrest or anybody watching this show. The only thing is I'm interested in what you believe and why, but if you don't think we should share that belief, then we can move on. Because it means you don't believe your belief is true.
We'll skip it and go to the point. I know that's what you're after. So slavery, right? Firstly, I would ask, do you have a problem with prisons?
Yes.
I have a number of problems with prisons, but prisons and slavery aren't remotely the same thing. So my position on my position on prisons is completely separate from my positions on slavery, because in prisons, you don't have one person owning another as property that they can pass on to their children and beat.
Well, I agree that chattel slavery is bad and is immoral. But as far as slavery in general, if we were to look at there
is no slavery in general, Izondo. There is either you are free or you are owned by someone. Are you okay with one person? Listen to me. Are you okay with one person owning another person as property?
It depends on why, but it could be a yes, because the difference is
we already have a significant disconnect, and that's where we should be focusing on.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about it. My opinion is this: as far as because a lot of people consider prisons to be modern day slavery because of the 13th Amendment.
That's not what that means. I'm going to mute you, and you're going to stop talking, and you're going to listen very closely. I want to be very clear. Prison isn't slavery. I'm only talking about a circumstance of slavery where one person owns another person as property. That's what the Bible allows and advocates for, that one person can own another person as property that they can pass on to their children, that they can beat within it. Now, if you're not advocating, I don't know, you've never mentioned the Bible, you never mentioned Christianity. So if that's not what you're advocating for, that's fine. But if you're just going to keep going down this path of comparing prisons to slavery, I will end the call, because those aren't honest. So are you defending a biblical view?
Let's talk about it. I'm sorry.
No.
I want to be clear.
I'm going to mute you again. And when I unmute you, show me that you heard that I fucking said something and thought about it for a second, and not that you were just waiting to come off mute for your turn to speak. I asked a question at the end of that, and you immediately went to, well, let's talk about it. I'm not interested in talking about it. I'm interested in having you answer the question. Is it your position?
I meant talking about what you meant.
Oh my God, you are so fucking obnoxious. We are never going to get to a point, are we, Izondo?
No, I meant when I said let's talk about it, I meant let's talk about your point.
My fucking question was this. Are you defending a biblical view?
Yes. In the Bible,
Why?
they didn't.
No, that was a yes or no question. I'm going to mute you again. And when I unmute you, the next question is, why couldn't you have said yes the first time I asked that instead of doing all this other stuff? Why couldn't you say yes the first time?
So my answer is yes. My point is biblical.
Okay. My question just now was, why couldn't you say yes the first time? And what you said when I took you off mute was not an answer to that question. You need to learn how to actually listen to what someone's saying so that you can answer the correct question. My question, once again, why couldn't you say yes the first time I asked you whether or not you were trying to defend a biblical worldview?
I was just taking it, I was doing it the long way, I guess, because I was literally going to respond to what you said, and I'm still prepared to respond to what you said.
Okay. Then let's talk about the biblical thing, because if you're talking about prison today as an analog for slavery, something like modern day slave, that's a saying, and it's one that I have a lot to say about, but that's not what we're here for. That's not what the root of the problem is. The root of the problem is that you a minute ago said that chattel slavery, owning a person as property, is sometimes acceptable. We can have a discussion and debate about whether or not prison labor or whatever, with the 13th Amendment having an exception for punishment and all these things. Those are conversations we could have. None of them are relevant to a biblical position, to a theist position, any of that. So let's just stick to chattel slavery. Why in the actual fuck would you ever suggest that it's okay to own another person as property? Just start with just that. I swear to glob, if you talk about prisons, I'm going to lose it. Just talk about chattel slavery.
The thing that has to be pointed out is biblical slavery and chattel slavery have one thing in common, and it solely rests on property for life. But in the Bible, they talked about slavery being prisoners of war, debtors. That is the thing.
Except for all the times that they didn't, right? Because when they talked about debtors, and when they talked about, being an indentured servant, when they talked about Hebrew slaves, when they talked about all these other things, those were separate instances from the several times where the Bible also says, take slaves from the heathen among you. They are your property to be passed on to your children. You can beat them so long as they don't die within a couple of days. Those are all the rules for taking actual human beings and making them into farming equipment. Those are the rules that were used here in the United States to justify chattel slavery that we had here. Those are the rules that were used in the slaves' Bible when we taught African slaves about Christianity using this specially foreign version of the Bible that had all the references to freedom and liberation and redemption cut out. Those are the things that Christians used to justify slavery then, and for a long time after then. That's what we're talking about. Yes, there is different times of slavery in the Bible. We're talking about this one.
Yes, and I'm going to do you a big favor. Stop pretending that you know something about chattel slavery when you've mispronounced it every time. It's chattel, not chattel.
I'm from Louisiana. I have a Louisiana
I don't give
accent.
a shit where you're from. That's how you fucking pronounce the word. Okay. Never mind. You're not interested in learning anything. Proceed. No, keep making a jackass out of yourself. Go for it. Go for it.
Because I'm not sure the other gentleman's name. Valkai, I think.
I'm Forrest.
Forrest. The thing is, you can't. Slavery in the United States was based on race. Was based on when most people say chattel,
Izondo,
or however you pronounce it.
That's not relevant.
They're talking about race.
We're talking about. All right, I'm going to mute you again.
God damn, dude.
Now you've decided that you want to address slavery in the United States was based on race. So what? That's not relevant. The issue here is about, is it morally permissible for one person to own another person, no matter what their fucking race is or when the time period is or anything else? Forrest and I say that should not happen, and you say it should happen depending on the circumstances. What are the circumstances in which case you are okay with me owning you?
Forrest brought in U.S. slavery, so I piggybacked off of it. Firstly,
Right.
second of
I
all,
was using it
in the
as an
invent-
example of what you're talking about, bro. Like, just
and I responded
answer
to
the
that.
question.
I responded to that example.
What are the circumstances under which you're okay with me owning you?
If I was a debtor, or
No, sir.
if I
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir.
was-
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. No,
fuck.
sir.
How
No,
much money
sir.
do you need to owe somebody before their kids inherit you? What is that?
I'm not saying. I
This
said
is
I'm
the-
against chattel slavery.
No,
But you
first
did
of all,
this a minute ago.
fucking chattel slavery. But second of all, you said that it's okay under certain circumstances for one person to own another person's property. I then asked you what the circumstances would be, and you went to if you owed a debt. No, sir. If you owe someone a debt, you do not become their property to pass on to their children. Indentured servitude, by the way, is also immoral. And so were debtors' prisons, but that is still not slavery where one person is owned as property. The Bible specifically tells you who to enslave, how to enslave them, to buy them from the heathen that surround you, how you must treat your Jewish slaves separate from your non-Jewish slaves, all of this. If you're going to defend a biblical slavery position, stop talking about prison, stop talking about slavery in the U.S., stop pretending that you're opposed to chattel slavery when you just said that there are circumstances under which it's permissible for one person to own another's property.
Not for life. I said own a person for a period of time.
That's not what
for life.
own someone for property means. You don't get to redefine shit in order to avoid the consequences. The Bible specifically advocates for owning them as property and passing them on to your kids.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with that. My point is that, and
Do you support?
as far as the Bible is
Do
a
you
guide,
support it or not?
Are you okay with me owning you as property under the conditions the Bible has laid out? Are you okay with that?
I would be biased in that answer. You got to ask me if I'm okay with me owning someone, or if I'm okay with you owning someone else. Obviously,
No.
How is it a different answer?
No,
How
I don't.
is it a
You
different
selfish
answer?
jackass. Is it okay in your model? Is it okay for you to be my slave under what it says in Exodus, Leviticus, and Deuteronomy?
it's okay for you to be my slave.
No, I'm not. So how can
What?
it possibly be? Shut up. How can it possibly be okay for me to be your slave and not okay for you to be my slave?
Because I'm biased. I just said that.
Goodbye.
It's because what an amazingly honest position. I don't want to be a slave, but I mean for everybody else, fuck it, right? Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
Jesus of
okay.
Christ land, dude.
Why don't you
What
shove
an
your shell up your ass, you absolutely dishonest individual. That's not the way morality
No,
works.
I'm very honest.
No,
I
shut
mean,
up.
you could be my slave.
No,
Very,
I'm just gonna shut
very
up now. I
honest
just
and
muted
very
you.
evil. Jesus Christ.
You don't get to call in and lecture us on chattel slavery and morality when it's moronic, when you're going to say it's okay for me to be your slave under Exodus, but it's not okay for you to be my slave under Exodus. You haven't got a fucking clue what you're talking about on morality, and you are willing to bend over backwards to make excuses for a book that has been used to enslave the hearts and minds and bodies of countless people. The Bible is very clear in Exodus 21. It has different rules for if you have Jewish slaves than if you have Gentile slaves. And yes, there's the year of Jubilee. Every 50 years, you have to let everybody go. But if you buy them in the first year after the year of Jubilee, that means you get a slave for 50 years. And when the average lifespan is 40 to 50 years, that's fucking life. It is absolutely embarrassing for you to try to defend this. So let's set slavery aside. And just for clarity, you mentioned also, I'm going to skip past morality because you don't understand it, that you wanted to discuss a woman's place in the world. So when I take you off mute, don't talk about any of the other stuff. Tell me, what do you think is a woman's place in the world and why? Go.
All right. So I feel like, as far as the Bible is concerned, it holds the more natural point of view because in nature, as things work, the person, the individuals, the group who has the power makes the rules. Men have more power than women. That's not to say that they should be mistreated, but as far as nature is concerned, there is a hierarchy in place, a very functional hierarchy, where the head of household is functional to society. They
Who says a
are
man's head
tasked with running, maintaining.
nature.
Huh?
I'm just laughing at you talking about in nature, and then also talking about how women shouldn't be mistreated. They should just be subservient, but not mistreated.
So I agree with you. I agree with you, Izondo, that the Bible is misogynistic and favors men, and holds women in disdain and barely mentions any of them by name, doesn't give them the power to own property in the same way, all this. But you're arguing that the Bible says this because that's natural. Well, that's called a naturalistic fallacy. And also
not fucking true.
It's also not true that in nature, men are in charge. So if we decided, for example, to just put women in charge, to give women all the power, to, because like women couldn't vote up until recently. What if we just made it so that men can't vote? Now women have the power. What would be wrong with that?
Women could never have that position because men are stronger. We could take the power back. They don't have the power.
You're not stronger, and that's not how things work.
This guy's not serious. Can we all agree this is a troll?
Might makes right fucking view. No, that's not.
How do you think it is? I just looked up. I just Googled just for funsies because it's fun to learn new things. You should try it. Just some matriarchal cultures, and here I've got a bunch of them. One in India, one in China, one in Indonesia, one in Ghana, one in Costa Rica. These are matriarchal cultures where the women are in charge. Why don't the strong men just rise up and do what's natural, Izondo?
Because they let it happen. They're fine with it. But if they weren't fine with it, they have the power to remove.
They're betas, right?
They're betas. That's what they're
betas, aren't they? I know.
What?
They're betas. They just won't rise up and take their power.
They're so.
I mean, I don't play into the alpha, beta, all that. Whatnot.
Yes, you absolutely do.
No, you just use the talking points. You don't buy into it. You just use the language.
Yeah, you are expressing those ideas, even if you're not using that language.
Okay. Do you think men and women are equal?
Yes. Yes, and that's not a controversial view.
Under the law, and with respect to how we value them, I think all people should be equal, men, women, and neither.
Okay, so why in sports are they based on gender? Why don't
I have to know, Izondo.
If women and men are equal.
I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt to say that you're just a troll. It's possible that you actually believe this garbage, but the language that you're using at this point is funny to me, and I'm pretty sure that you're just fucking with us and yanking our chain. But on the off chance that you're not, do you know at all, who I am or what I do for? That sounds so shitty. Do you know who I am? I mean that sincerely. I don't mean how dare you speak to me. I mean do you know what my background is and why I'm on this show?
No.
Okay, just so you're clear, just so we're all here. I'm a biologist. I study and teach biology for a living. I have a channel, a YouTube channel. I talk about biology and everything. My particular area of research and expertise where I focus on is biological anthropology and evolutionary biology. Biological anthropology is the study of the evolution and biology of human beings. So that's kind of my jam. Just so you're aware. There's no evidence to suggest that there's this natural world where men are just dominant. There's lots of cultures all around the world with gender diversity, with matriarchal cultures, where men aren't just naturally in charge. You're asking, why do we divide sports, and why do men had the right to vote for a long time because we're strong and blah blah blah. I'm dying to know if you think that this is actually just the way that nature is, and all these other cultures in history and across the world that defy that are just like aberrant blue-haired liberals or something, or if maybe, just maybe, we can rely on the historical evidence of the fact that white supremacist, Christian, heteronormative, cisgendered, the European standard of colonization and genocide steamrolled across the whole planet. And now, especially in the global north, we have the culture that we have. And you're looking at the culture as it is today and being like, this must be natural. Do you think that's fucking weird? Like, do you think that maybe you're misinterpreting what's going on around you at all? Is that something that registers in your brain?
You know,
I don't. First of all, none of that has to do with whether men are stronger than women, which they are. I think we can all agree on that. That's the reason why we don't.
So first of all, we were talking about equality, and in response to me saying that men, women, and non-binary people should be considered equal, which is an idealistic sense of value with regard to rights and freedoms, you said, "Oh, but you don't think men are stronger than women?" Equality has nothing to do with whether or not a group or an individual is physically stronger or faster or smarter. So, what sport are you the best at, Izondo?
Basketball.
Is there a woman that could kick your ass at basketball?
Probably.
Probably.
She'd be one in a million, but she's there.
1 in a million. So of all the women who are like in the WNBA, you could take most of them.
I'm not an elite basketball player.
I didn't ask you about it. I didn't ask you if you were in the league or not.
You're comparing me to.
You can't
compare elite with elite.
You are incapable of listening and answering the question. So let me try this again. You said you're the best at basketball. I said, is there a woman who could beat you? And you said she'd be 1 in a million. And then I asked about WNBA. So are there lots of women who could beat you at basketball?
Just because I'm not even that good at basketball.
Women?
Yes or no? Yes or no?
Are there lots of women?
Let me answer the question you asked.
Shut your mouth until I've asked the question, and then you can answer the question. Are there lots of women?
The first one, but okay.
Are there lots of women who could beat you at basketball? Yes or no?
No.
They're not.
There's not. There's not lots of women in the
that could beat you
WNBA.
at basketball?
What?
Are there 5 women on the planet who could beat you at basketball?
That's not a lot. So yeah.
Are there 100 women on the planet who could beat you at basketball?
Barely. That's about the max.
Bullshit.
Compare the WNBA to the NBA.
Out of 4 billion people. Out of 4 billion people, not 100 of them can beat Izondo at basketball.
Izondo, I don't need to compare the WNBA to the NBA. Are you in the NBA?
That would be fair. You're not.
Are you in the NBA?
Making a fair comparison.
Hey, bitch, are you in the NBA?
Your mama's a bitch.
Your mama's a bitch. Are you in the NBA?
Your mama's a bigger bitch. She's a fat bitch.
Your mama's the biggest bitch. You want to keep doing it? Your mama's the biggest bitch ever. Your mama is so big of a bitch that she raised somebody who's too stupid to answer a question honestly.
Everybody you know is a bitch.
You want to do that? Everybody I know is a bitch. I know you.
You're a fat bitch. You were in the Navy, but now you're not. Now you're a sorry,
answer my question.
Bitch.
You little coward.
Your girlfriend got a dick. Your girlfriend got a dick.
There we go.
Your girlfriend got a dick. Your girlfriend fucks you in the ass. Your girlfriend.
You got it.
It's bigger than yours, and I'm still getting rid of it.
And now you get deleted, you little ignorant bigot. Your mama raised a bitch that is so punk ass. I knew it. I fucking knew it.
It just was a matter of time before it came out. Like, just that it's fucking trying so hard, this thin veil behind the fucking Andrew Tate bullshit. Oh, man.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jimmy Snow, executive producer of The Line, and the rumors are true. Forrest Valkai is, in fact, a hostage in my basement. If you would like to contribute to his freedom one day, you can do so by supporting us over on Patreon or becoming a channel member. There are specific tiers for specific shows or the channel at large. You can also send us super thanks. Those are great. You can like, comment, and subscribe. Also, fudge the algorithm. Go to one of these things. The algorithm doesn't matter. It thinks it knows you better than we do, Better than you do? I know you better. Hank. There's a bunch of people named Hank. I just freaked way out. Okay, go to one of these.